I'm really glad that I decided to start this series where I review the bundle and all of the games inside them, because after being disappointed time and again by all of the previous survival sandboxes, I doubt I would have given this one a chance at all. One might say I would have missed the forest for all the trees. In today's humble opinion, we're dropping logs in the forest. The Forest is a survival sandbox with an infusion of horror, developed and published by End Night Games Ltd. Fitting, considering all anyone who plays this game wants is for the night to be over so they can finish decorating their front lawns with the strewn out remains of their enemies. How are you ever supposed to impress the homeowners association if you don't have at least 6 bodies worth of limbs scattered around your porch? Now, I've shit on survival sandboxes before, though to be fair, the Humble Monthly had been tossing them in with reckless abandon. 2 bundles within 2 months, and the second one had 2. 3 survival sandboxes total, with the third one admitting that it was really no different than any of the others. I couldn't take it anymore. It was ridiculous, and when I saw the forest, I was not a happy camper. But once I played it, something changed. Because nothing makes a camper happier than sharing their camp with the hostile mutants and hungry cannibals, apparently. What I truly believe makes this game work more effectively than the others is the fact that it was designed and created with a single player in mind. Unlike similar titles, this one isn't about building a fort to protect yourself from someone else trying to come and steal your shit while you trek halfway across the map to break into someone else's fort and try to steal their shit. The objective of the game, quite simply, is to survive. And to find your son or something. Please, sir, you don't understand. He needs his father. He's suffering. He's got male pattern baldness. Man, I don't know what it is, but there's a theme of having more interesting things to do than finding your son in video games. This is precisely why I should not procreate. But speaking of plot points, the game actually has a tangible plot that gives you purpose and direction. Granted, the game is still an alpha and the story hasn't quite been completed or implemented, but still, it's a start. The thing that I've always found lacking in games like this is a point. To me, there's nothing appealing to the idea of surviving for as long as possible only to meet the fate of an unsatisfying death that means I get to do it all over again. And not only does the game offer a point, but it circumvents the frustration of starting completely over by allowing you the chance to save whenever you come home for the day. You can still Iron Man it if you really want to by starting over whenever you die completely, but for those of us who want our creations to be a little more permanent, this is a great change of pace. Unfortunately, like most survival sandboxes, it's a game that requires a high initial investment in order to see the exact scope of what it has to offer. You do get some excellent insights about what you can do with your son's survival book that will teach you everything from how to set up a basic lodging and campfire to creating human effigies. Timmy, where did you get this book? There are a lot of different plants and animals to discover and quite a few things to learn about the island. For instance, I was reading up on the game to make sure I wasn't jumping to any conclusions, and it turns out that later on there are some genuinely disturbing enemies like mutant potato babies and faceless human bodies with too many limbs for their own good. You're gonna have to trust me on that one. It's borderline Cthulhu mythos. Another thing that went completely over my head is the fact that the AI of the cannibals has its own society. They don't even know that you're on the island for starters, so it's possible that you could go completely unnoticed if you play through stealthily enough. However, during their patrols, they'll notice changes in the environment and investigate, like if you chop down trees, for instance. Once they discover you, they may not even be hostile depending on that particular individual or group. They may just watch curiously from a distance like that creepy ex-boyfriend. They might surrender or run away from fights. They worship at effigies and exile members from their group to starve on the outskirts, and it's actually pretty impressive. I never would have guessed that these guys were testing my mettle as a foreigner and that it wasn't just the AI tripping over itself. Normally the forest will be on the Steam store for the price of $14.99, which is actually for once more than fair. Even though the game is an alpha, I'd say that the graphics, the style, and the current gameplay are worth at least $20, if not more. Though if you're still cynical of survival sandboxes at this point, and I don't blame you, you can wait for it to go on sale, and it's been as low as $10.04, which is pretty good. Gameplay for The Forest earns a 9 out of 10. It's done wonders for my perception of the survival sandbox genre and has opened my heart once more. But I'm pretty sure that it's one of a kind. One of the things that I like about it particularly is that it offers so much realism and visual feedback. When you chop down a tree, the entire thing falls down and just explodes into logs, you know, just like in real life. And you can't really carry them in your inventory, but you can load them onto a sled or toss a few over your shoulders so that you can run and jump all the way back to base, you know, just like in real life. Building things is made so much more fun because you're able to see the process and progress in building it. You may have to collect 87 logs to build a cabin, but it's made a lot more tolerable and interesting when you get to see where each and every log fits into place. Not to mention that placing items you plan on building around your base puts a handy little notification in the lower left that acts as a shopping list while you're poking around. And it also helps you visualize what you're creating, which is really nice. Storage is also visible, and I could gush about all of the minor details for a while, but let's move on to value instead. Despite my overall positive impression impression of the game, I can't say that it scores any higher than a 6 out of 10 in value. Though the game itself does a lot to improve my impression of the genre and I enjoyed it, it doesn't change the fact that there have been a lot of survival sandboxes and mechanically they're all too similar. Even this one has the basic mechanics of collecting resources, making constructions and weapons, and hunting to survive. It just happens to present it in a much more enjoyable way. So much so that it scores above a 5, which would have been much lower if it had just been another carbon copy. Especially knowing that there's another one just around the fucking corner. Seriously, fucking stop with this shit. With an average score of 7.5 out of 10, The Forest earns a B. It's the game that the monthly should have introduced the survival sandbox genre with, and it's too bad that it's been run into the ground at this point.